So I just want to say sorry for the way I'm looking. Obviously, I'm very upset. Um, so I don't think this cycle worked. So I'm gonna try my best to get through with what I'm saying, because I'm just trying to keep everything as real as possible. But so before we began this cycle, I asked my doctor about my progesterone and that I wanted to get it tested. And he said, well, you have two options. You can either take the supplements of progesterone and we can't take your blood work, or we can, take your blood work, but you can't take the progesterone then. And, it's like, I'm not risking it. So, I decided to go through with the cycle and then take the supplements because I had a history of low progesterone, but it wasn't sitting with me right, and I don't care that I did this, but I went to my OB because the blood work's free, so it didn't really matter, and I just said, I'm having fertility issues and I just want to see if I ovulated or not, and they didn't question it, and I got my progesterone levels taken, and I just got the level back. And another thing I should say, that, so say I didn't have to take the progesterone, usually the fertility clinic would test you a week later, so it was exactly a week later, and my levels came back at 6.8, so they're still so low even with me taking progesterone. Now, if you don't understand how progesterone levels work, number one, it's crucial to have higher progesterone in order for a pregnancy to be viable and, thrive, essentially. And number two, it also can point out how you ovulated too. So anything below a 10 is usually considered weak ovulation. So I don't even know if I ovulated. I had the trigger shot done, and we saw an ultrasound that I had a 19 millimeter follicle, and 6.8. I was expecting at least like 10 to 15, because I'm like, I probably ovulated, and it was probably just that first cycle when I had the blood work taken, it was probably just a fluke and whatever. But I don't know what to think right now. I definitely had another weak ovulation, or maybe I didn't even ovulate at all, which is just shocking considering the fact that we saw with our own eyes on the ultrasound that I had a 19 millimeter follicle, which is a perfect follicle, and I had an injection that forces you to ovulate, and still I'm having what is called a luteal phase defect, which most of the times you're probably not going to end up pregnant. So this is my third IUI, if you're not familiar with what's going on. I clearly have trouble having children for whatever reason, even though I have my daughter, and I don't know how I had her. I really don't, because before this I kept having miscarriages, and then after I had her, my fertility just never came back. I never got a period, and I'm going through these treatments and it's still not working. But I mean, I'm still not out just yet, but I'm pretty sure that I am. This whole time, like the first and second cycles, I was like, I had that deep feeling that it didn't work, and now I'm feeling that right now after this blood work. But I called my doctor, waiting for him to call back. I'm gonna tell him what I did and see what he has to say, and I'll just keep everyone posted. But again, I'm sorry that I'm looking like this, and I'm just crying on the internet now, but some people don't understand how heart-wrenching and painful feeling it is going through this. Like, you know, in general, just having children should be something positive, not so hard and negative. I don't know. But, I'll take a live pregnancy test tomorrow, and it's probably not going to be what I want to see, but maybe. Just maybe. And I'll also keep you guys posted on what my doctor says, too.
Okay. So, you had a progesterone level drawn?
Yes.
Okay, and what day did they draw it on?
It was, Tuesday. So exactly
Okay.
1 week from the IUI.
Okay. So my question is where did they send it?
LabCorp?
Okay. So this is the issue with hormone levels. There's different assays out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what their assay is. I don't know, like our test along with, ours is pretty standard,
Mm-hmm.
and we know what ours is. So I don't know what that 6 level actually means. It may be equivalent to 25 within our assay. If you want to increase the prometrium, you can to 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do that. The other thing is not we're not fully we are not fully replacing progesterone.
Mm-hmm.
If we were doing that, then we'd be using vaginal progesterone or intramuscular progesterone. So we're supplementing. So we are counting on your ovaries making some of the progesterone. If it's over 5, it means you've ovulated. We know that, well, according to our assay. I'm not sure what LabCorp's assay is. If it is between 5 to 10, it's called luteal phase defect, and if it's over 10, it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point in time, if you're not pregnant with this cycle, I have to assume that your ovaries are not making the progesterone it needs, and therefore you may have ovulated, but it may not have been a good quality egg in which you ovulated. So then our next step is to use stronger fertility drugs, and not letrozole, but to do the injectables.
Mm-hmm. Because it was 6.8, and like I know you said that it might, that's what I was thinking, that it was just another luteal phase defect,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I was, upset again. But taking the prometrium itself, it wouldn't have affected the level, is what you're saying?
It's supplementing it, but the whole thing is, again, I don't know what to go by LabCorp's level.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what their assay normally is for what is in the luteal phase on letrozole on. I know what our levels mean.
Right.
I don't know what to make of this level from LabCorp. I'm looking at it as, okay, if I got that level on my machine, what does it tell me? It tells me that, number one, you've ovulated, but you probably still have a luteal phase defect, and giving you progesterone is just treating a symptom, but we are counting on some progesterone coming from the ovary. So therefore, it may not be making enough progesterone. So again, letrozole is not correcting the problem. We have to use injectable fertility drugs, but the letrozole, we're not going any higher on letrozole.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, then now we have to go to a different medication. We would have done that anyway because this is your 3rd cycle.
Right.
But getting a level at LabCorp, I don't know what that means, that 6.8 level, when someone's on letrozole and on prometrium. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the assay they are using.
Is there, do you think I should try to call them to get that information for you?
No, because I have nothing to compare it to.
Okay.
There's different kits that come in different machines. And if I was going to get a progesterone level, I would have it done on my machine so I know what it means. But at this point in time, having a low level, we could always increase your prometrium, which is totally fine.
And that would
But
only help if I was pregnant?
it would help with your uterine lining to help with implantation. But again, if the level is low, if I got that level, it tells me that your ovulation is not a good one.
So since this is my third cycle, do you think that's probably what could potentially be wrong with me? Like you said it could be a poor egg?
Could be a immature egg or not such a great quality egg. But again, as I look back at your cycle, your follicle was 19 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
Your lining was a three-layered pattern. It was more than 6 millimeters. So all that tells me, okay, you're making estrogen. It's coming from the follicle. Now we triggered your ovulation. And now we are supplementing you with progesterone. The progesterone level, again, the problem is that you got a blood test that I don't know what to do with.
Right. And there's no way, if I got blood work now through you guys, like tomorrow, if you'd be able to tell anything? I just really wanted to know because this really will determine what I have to do next.
The low progesterone will, or they're not getting pregnant?
I guess between both, because if I'm having these luteal phase defects, I guess that will, well, you said I have to do the injectables anyway.
Well, I wouldn't go any further than 7.5 milligrams of letrozole.
Right.
And this is your third cycle. So if we go through 3 cycles and you're not pregnant, then it's time for us to think about what our next step's going to be.
Right.
And that's going to be including injectable fertility drugs with either insemination or with IVF. In that situation, depending on which way we go, then if we go to IVF, it's full supplementation of progesterone. If we go super ovulation, it is still supplemental, but you'll be making more than one follicle.
Mm-hmm. And there's no other further testing to see, like, why, based on the fact that, like, I used to ovulate normally, and now I'm not, I guess, ovulating properly at all now. There's no testing to see why this could keep happening?
We did the blood work, and if you are, hold on for a second here. Hold on for a second. What are your cycles ranging without the fertility drugs?
I mean, I didn't have a cycle. Like, I didn't, like, after I had my daughter, I never had a period. The first time I actually had a period was when I finally came to you and you gave me estrogen and progesterone.
Right. So basically, you're not ovulating. So for some reason, your ovaries are not working the way they should.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Well, we did blood work on you, and everything there looked okay. Your FSH level was fine. Your LH level is fine. So you are what's called anovulatory. Why is this happening? I can't tell you why.
And it's still considered anovulatory even though, like, we see a follicle and everything?
No. Naturally.
Naturally, okay.
Naturally, you're not getting a period, right?
I would assume so, yes.
Right. So you're anovulatory means you're not ovulating. So we're using a medication to increase your FSH to help you ovulate.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the letrozole is doing. Now, even though we're doing that, and we're seeing you're developing a follicle, you may not be producing a good quality egg each month. And why is that? I don't know. I know how to address it. I know how to improve on that. But again, something has occurred in your ovary. Now, ovaries are like little computers.
Mm-hmm.
And the program in the computer can be thrown off by a lot of things, including environmental toxins. Surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, those type of things. So what we do is we try to identify, okay, you're not ovulating, why? Well, your FSH and your LH are in the right areas. Your AMH level is a little bit higher than what we'd like to see it in someone who is normally ovulating. So that tells me again, that's a red flag that, okay, you're not ovulating the way you should. And we know that because you're not getting a period.
Right.
So, okay, now how do I address this? How do I improve on this? So when we give you the letrozole, and let's say, and when you don't get pregnant, you get a period, right?
Yes.
Right. So we are helping you ovulate. You are making progesterone. Now the question is, what medication is going to improve on you getting pregnant? And that is where we're trying something oral to see if that would help. Now, if it's not helping, if it's not getting us to the endpoint we want to, then we have to think about becoming more aggressive, and that is where the injectable fertility drugs come into play.
Okay.
Because we even tried clomid.
Yes.
And let me just do one thing here for a second. Hold on. And even with the clomid, your progesterone level in the second part of your cycle was low.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they also took, I don't know if you would, I know you said like the labs were different, but they said, or they took my estrogen too, and it was at 110. Is that normal?
That's fine. You're going to we don't, getting estrogen in the luteal phase, we know it's going to be elevated, but there's no normal of what it should be, of what does it mean for pregnancy and that type of thing.
Right.
So I know you are making estrogen because of your lining being thick and being a 3-layered pattern. So I know you're making estrogen.
So it's more like it's just something's wrong with my ovaries.
There's something that you have an ovulatory issue. And we're trying a medication to see if we can improve on that. And if you're not pregnant, then we need to move to something else. Sort of like if someone has high blood pressure.
Right.
You start off with one drug. If it's not bringing down the blood pressure, then we have to try another drug. So if you want to increase the prometrium to 3 tablets a day, that's totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Now, if I say I do end up pregnant, would I just continue to keep with the prometrium, or would I eventually take different types of progesterone?
No, we keep you on the prometrium, but then at the time of your pregnancy test, we get a progesterone level.
Right. Okay.
But I don't know what to do with the progesterone level you got.
Okay. All right.
I recorded it, but I don't know really what to do with it.
Yeah.
You can increase, if you're going to increase that, please let me know so I can change it and then on the flow sheet so I know exactly what things you're taking.
Okay.
Do you want to increase it?
Do you recommend me increasing it?
I wouldn't. It's going to make you feel really crappy.
All right. I'll just keep that the twice a day then.
Okay. And let's see what happens.
Okay.
Alrighty. I'm hoping I answered your questions.
Yeah. I'm just, I'm getting worried.
I hear you. So let's see what happens with this cycle, and then we can kind of go from there, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.